Hey guys, Stefan Kesting from GrappleArts.com here. My buddy Richie Yip is helping me out. What I want to talk about today is a detail of side mount. If you don't do this, if you don't take care of this aspect of side mount, your opponents are going to get out all the time and you might even get into worse positions than where you started. So here I am in side mount. One thing my opponent is very often going to do is going to fight to get his arm in here. Either his hand on my hip to push me away, or his elbow on my hip, again, to make some space. What he can use this space for is to re-guard. He can shrimp away, put me back in the guard. Damn it, I just was inside mount, now I've ended up in his guard. Even worse, he's a big guy. I mean, Richie here is almost 300 pounds, does a lot of weightlifting. If he's got this elbow or forearm in the hip and he reaches over top and he turns, he can easily bridge me over, which would suck. Once again, so one way or another, I need to get this elbow or this forearm out of this space. This is my space. He's not supposed to be there. So the first way to move this elbow out of there is I'm here. I can't quite solidify the side mount to turn my hips. I'm going to hook under his arm and I'm going to step through here. The leg that's closest to his hips switches through. Now I want to be careful. I don't want to be leaning back here. He's going to push, he's going to sit up, and I'm going to end up on the bottom. So see, I'm pretty close here. My upper body is close to his body. When I step through, I want to keep my upper body close. In judo, this position is known as kazure kezagatame, or broken scarf hold. It's also really good in Brazilian jiu-jitsu. I can either fight him here and submit him here, or if I'm more comfortable in the traditional side mount, after I've switched my hips through here, I switch my hips again so that I'm chest down. See, his arm is now completely out of position. It's a terrible position for him. And now I can really mount an attack. Next thing I can do, say I can't turn my hips this way. I'm giving tons of room here, obviously. I can turn my hips the other way to collapse the arm. I can turn them here. Especially if his arm is straight, I can turn like this. Now, if you want to keep your training partners as friends, or keep your training partners at all, be really careful with this one, because if he's pushing with his hand, and I turn my hips this way, I'm basically applying a wrist lock. I've seen it happen a lot of times where somebody's wrist gets jacked like that, and now they can't train for a very long time. But if you can do it safely, if you can do it slowly, especially if it's just a forearm, I control the shoulder here, and I roll my hip that way. Now, his arm is kind of squished underneath my hips. That's okay. It's not giving me any trouble. I bring my leg up. It's out of play. Third thing. Here I don't rotate my hips. I move my knee. I move the knee that's closest to his head. Basically, I'm going to circle it towards his hip, bring it up against his body, and then move it here. I'm moving my knee like this up into his armpit. We're here, we're fighting. Now I've got a really tight control and his arm's completely out of position. Fourth option, very similar. Instead of bringing the knee towards his legs and then up, I might make some room up here and then bring the knee down on the top side. Now I've got this arm pinned. There's a really quick way to mount from there. So what that might look like at speed, we're here, he's pushing. Direct route to mount. Finally, if I cannot move this arm, I try to twist, he drops that elbow to the floor. I try to come up, I try and bring my elbow over, he blocks it. Try and bring my, did I say elbow? I meant my knee. Try and bring my knee up here, he blocks it. Well, that's what knee mount is for. By coming up, I've taken his arm out of play. If he follows me with this arm, well, now it's a liability for him, right? I can wrist lock him here. I can step back, I can arm bar him, or I can just be up in knee mount and use that pressure to force him to move. So, 5 options, quickly. 1, rotate the hips towards the head, possibly turning back. 2, rotate the hips towards the legs. And then come up and invade this armpit space. 3, move my knee towards the hip, slide it up into the armpit without changing my body rotation. 4, come up, pin that arm with the knee, swing over into mount. And 5, pop up to knee mount. And from here, there's lots and lots of things I can do. For example, I can slide into mount. I can take the arm lock. I mean, from knee mount, it opens a whole lot of doors.